there. I'm Kristin Morrison. I'm the founder of Six Figure Pet Business Academy, and I'm the creator of the Prosperous Pet Business Online Conference. And I'm so happy to welcome Ian Dunbar here with me today. He is an animal behavioralist. He created Serious Dog Training School, where he was the first instructor to do off-leash puppy training in the world, and that's pretty brave. To take them off leash. He's also the author of many books, and he's created many dog training CDs, DVDs, anything else that I'm forgetting? You're a veterinarian too.
That's true, past life.
Yes, exactly. So thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you being willing to do an in-person interview. Ian lives right over the bridge from me, about 30 minutes away, and we kept having some difficulties with Skype, and so you graciously said, come on over to my house. And
I was having difficulties with Skype, let's be really honest about this, shall we?
I was too. Anyway, so really happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And so what are some mistakes that dog owners make when they're training their dogs?
Well, I think the biggest one is they don't look ahead. Mm-hmm. They get a dog, and before they know, they're out of control because the dog is growing up and developing so quickly, especially if we get a puppy, mm-hmm. or even if we adopt an adult dog, because it's the first week that makes the dog, new house, new rules, they learn very quickly.
Right.
And, I think they should look on it as like driving a car. You don't just buy a car, get in it, turn it on, off you go without knowing how it works. And so people should think ahead a little. I mean, the all-time classic is when people come up to me and they say, oh, Ian, I've got a problem with my dog. And I say, oh no, what is it? They say, well, it barks. And I said, no. Oh no, that of all the dogs you could have got, it's really unlucky that you pick one that barks. So we laugh at this, but the thing is, all dogs are going to pee and poop, mm-hmm. chew, bark, they're going to be hyperactive, they're going to be happy over the top to see you, mm-hmm. they're going to run away off leash, they're going to pull on leash, unless you teach them otherwise. And so I think a little, prior proper preparation and learn what your puppy's going to do mm-hmm. developmentally when you get it, week 8, week 9, week 10, and know exactly what you've got to do. And then the puppy raising becomes just so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of training style do you prefer?
I basically, it's a 3-step process. Show the puppy what you want to do. You have to let the puppy know mm-hmm. what the rules are, and in other words, finding a way to communicate, to teach the puppy ESL, if you like, mm-hmm. to teach the puppy human words for doggy behaviors and actions, so we can say, no, use your toilet, get your chew toy, so we can communicate what we want them to do. But I would say 90% of training is motivating the dog to want to do it, mm-hmm. As opposed to the approach where people tend to look on the dog as their adversary in the training arena and say, like, I told you to sit, now sit, this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. No, first let's make sure the dog understands what sit means. And then really motivate them so they want to do it, which is really simple. You say sit, and then on the couch. Mm-hmm. Sit, you put the leash on. Sit, you let the leash off. Mm-hmm. Sit, you throw a tennis ball. So the dog says, I love it when they say sit. All the good things happen afterwards. Yeah. And then the third stage would be, we must communicate to the dog when it's a must-do command. I mean, there are times when we need absolute compliance, mm-hmm. on-demand compliance, and that's the biggie, and I think that's where dog training is sort of split down the middle. A lot of people are saying, we get to compliance, mm-hmm. and other people are saying, well, no, we're reward trainers, and what do you do when the dog misbehaves? Oh, we turn our back on it when he jumps up. We're going to extinguish the behavior. It's insanity, mm-hmm. and that's why I think a lot of owners have got frustrated that they go to a class or with a trainer, and they're having a great time. The trainer's very, very positive with the dog, but the trainer's not teaching them what to do when the dog misbehaves or when the dog's not compliant. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the biggest advance in dog training in the last 100 years, that we now have ways to insist that the dog does it without causing fear or pain. Mm-hmm. And of course the analogy here would be a parent and a child, an employer and employee, a teacher and a student. I mean, we don't want to beat our children and pupils to get them to do it. We want to teach them what and to motivate them. But occasionally we have to acknowledge, Daddy knows best. You must do this now for your own safety. So that I think is really cool, that we can now essentially do something which is much better than punishment. Punishment just inhibits the behavior we don't want. But even if it works, which it seldom does, because owners are pretty inconsistent, it's so woefully insufficient. What we want is to stop the behaviors we don't want and get the dog back on track as soon as possible, and occasionally communicate to the dog how serious non-compliance would be, and in terms of how dangerous it would be. Say the dog's running through the front door. And by using our voice, you can do this in one word. You can communicate, stop running away, I want you sitting, and this is urgent, so you must do it.
And it sounds like being in partnership with your dog too, instead of you being, sometimes you need to be dominant, obviously.
I think sometimes you need to be in charge and in control, because we're humans with human brains, and we can foresee the dangers of the future. And so we occasionally have to tell dogs, no, you will not do this. You will not jump up on the child just because of your breed. Labrador can flatten a child in the park, but if you're a Rottie or a Pit and you do it, you're in big trouble. And so I think the process more is, it's communication, it's living with the animal, and what has happened in dog training is the most peculiar thing in the past 100 years, that 100 years ago, with Conrad Moh's book on the basically ignore your dog for 6 months to a year and then put a leash on him and jerk him when he doesn't do what you want without telling him what you want him to do. Kind of silly way to train. And we took words out of corrections. And I think if a dog or a child gets it wrong, we have to explain to them why it was wrong. Or at least we have to explain to them what exactly we want them to do, rather than just saying, no, jerk, zap. We have to say, get your chew toy. See, by using words, correction becomes an easier process. But then a very ironic thing, when clicker training came along, which is a fantastic technique for doing specific things with dogs, complicated things, teaching dogs behaviors which aren't in their normal repertoire, so we can't lure them. What it did was, it took words out of praise and rewards, and instead we go click, treat. And whereas I think as a technological training process that has uses, it does require consistency and impeccable timing, two qualities which sometimes are not always present in our owners. But it takes words out of the loveliest side of training, that you teach the dog what to do and rewarding them for doing it. And I like to say to dogs, that was a really good pee. I tell you, I've seen some pees in my life, but that had volume, that had style with the leg lift. I'm being serious, or a recall, like, hot damn buddy, that was faster than my brain could process. And I think it's such a shame that we're trying to teach so many owners to be technicians and just go click and treat. So please I don't want people to say, oh, Ian Dunbar doesn't like clicker training. No, I was responsible for getting the very first workshop together where clickers were used to train dogs. It was run by Puppy Works just around the corner here, and I promoted it. We got 200 people. It's a great training technique for specific uses. I don't think it's a starter technique for someone who's trying to develop a relationship with a growing puppy.
I agree, and I think dogs do like words, and they like hearing, our inflections and the way we're saying.
Well, the inflections, you see, if we use feedback we almost reduced it to two camps in dog training, to a click or a shock or a jerk. It's quantum feedback. It's always the same. Whereas the behavior or the dog's response is always different. And so our feedback needs to not just communicate whether you get it right or wrong, but how well you did, or how potentially dangerous the mistake is. And that we can do so easily with our voice. We can say, thank you, which means minimal requirements have been met. The response wasn't brilliant, but at least you did it eventually. Then we can say, good dog, good dog. Good dog, or hot damn diggery, man, that's so cool. You get it? And our voice is such a natural feedback because it's a binary feedback and it's analog. So we can communicate the various, qualitative aspects of behavior, how well you did.
We do that with people too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Some people do.
That's true. Some people
other
don't.
people have
Yeah.
communication problems there, and they
Yeah.
will never tell someone when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So they fret over it, and they never praise people when they get it right.
Yeah. So either way, the people that they're around don't know how they're doing.
Yeah, and I think with a dog, I mean, you know, to me the whole reason for having a dog is he's your buddy. I mean, he's like your little cute, furry psychologist, home companion, exercise coach, and everything. And you know, I think it's so nice when we talk to him. I remember we had a big old red dog called Claude, and I had some things I was worrying about, and I would talk to him on my walks. And actually, my neighbour actually came up here and said to Kelly, he says, you know, your husband's talking to that big red dog. And Kelly says, oh, he always does. And she said, no. He's talking to the dog as if the dog's replying to him. And I did, and it really helped me through the problems.
Yeah.
I mean, why worry Jamie and Kelly when you got a dog you can talk to? And he pretty much solved everything. His solution was, walk me more often.
There you go.
Come to these sessions, you know, let's do this 5 times a week.
Yeah, the
instead of an
therapy
hour a week.
session is cheaper too.
Yeah.
Cheaper
It is,
than therapy.
it is.
That's great. So, you know, I remember in some email exchanges that we had, you were talking about the behavior and motivation of humans, and that you're very interested in that. Tell me more about.
Well, I think that I'm interested in it just because I'm interested in it, but from the viewpoint of today's talk, which is running a successful dog business, to me, 2 things just pop out. You know, what will make a successful dog business? And here I'm talking about growing the business. The first, obviously, is what you do has to be reproducible. You need people to do it for you now, or with you, for you. Eventually, employees, that's the only way to grow, because as one person you can only do so much. Well, as soon as you now get people working for you, we now get into, I think, the most important aspect of dog training, which is people training. We are not just training the dog. I mean, that's one aspect of it. There's many layers of the onion. We are teaching, we may train the dog a little, get him up and running, then we're teaching a person how to train the dog, or to work the dog that we've helped them train. More importantly, the person usually we're working with is mum in the family, so we're actually teaching her our job, which is how she can go home and train other people, other family members and extended family and friends and guests, how to train the dog that we've just helped her train. So a lot of it is people training, and I think in any profession, and especially dog training, because it's so emotional, people care about their dogs so much, the people training skills are everything. If you want a successful business, you need to know how to make people feel good, and to motivate your employees to work for you, to motivate your owners to do the homework. You see, it's that 3-stage process again. It's not just telling them what to do, it's motivating them to want to do it. And then very occasionally you have to say, look, I am the boss here. I am the dog trainer, and I see what happens if you don't do this. So I really want you to do this. I'm going to check next week. I'll ask your dog. And I do, and when I see the dog the next week, I put my forehead down on the dog's head and I go, dog's telling me you haven't been hand feeding him around children. And they go, well, on Tuesday we had house guests, and then they totally blab, and I say, you've got to do this because your dog doesn't like children. Do you understand what your dog's going through? Every time he sees children, he's stressed and anxious, and it's just not fair. You've got to solve this problem. So occasionally, the 3rd level, I will say, you are going to do this, and I'll do everything to convince the person. But by and large, if you're motivating properly, you know, your staff are going to want to work for you because it's their company, and it's their family, and your dog owners are going to want to do the homework, because it's a fun thing to do with the dog.
It is, and you know, I'm thinking about my own. I had a pet sitting company for 18 years and 35 staff members when I sold it, and it was a pretty big company. And what I found through having the staff members for so many years was they really did work better with praise than, hey, you did this wrong. I mean, I had to learn that the hard way early on, and that it wasn't money that motivated them. It was gratitude, and really letting them know how grateful I was that they were there. And once I started doing that and really paying attention to appreciation, I found they stayed with me. The staff members I had stayed with me, on average 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people make this big thing about money. I mean, money, but actually even for the owner, it's really fulfillment that you want. You want to feel that you're doing a good thing and that you're making people's lives a little happier. But in terms of motivating employees, money is not a good motivator because it's on a fixed schedule, either fixed interval or fixed ratio, and we know that doesn't work to train puppies. The crazy thing is that 100% of the entire workforce of the world is maintained on those two schedules. It doesn't work.
Yep.
And I did a massive survey once of vet techs. This was a veterinary retreat in Lake Geneva, and I asked them, what do you want from your job? And the number one thing by far was recognition. And then the second choice was, most popular thing was fulfillment or a chance to grow and to expand my knowledge base. And so I've done quite a lot of reading into motivating people, and from like the industrial psychology viewpoint, where this is heavy duty now, we're just selling something. So one of the books I really liked was Swim with the Sharks, and this was an envelope salesman who then became a multi-millionaire. Why? Because the way he sold envelopes was, now he did it in typical male fashion. He developed a questionnaire, 66 questions I think it was, questions I want to ask my client. Like, are you married? Did you go to college? What college was it? Do you have children? What are their names? What are their interests? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? And then when he'd come back and meet them to try and sell his envelopes, he'd say, how's Johnny's soccer going? Did he get onto the team? Bam, bam. You're meeting with the person on a personal level. You've just made the sale. And so in the doggy world, that's so easy for us because it's a dog, and all you have to do is to get down on the ground and say, oh, how's Sparky, hey? How's my favourite cocker? Oh, he's a good dog. Has Mummy been training you? Yeah. So that's the greeting. And then when you leave, there's a little nice thing you say to the dog. Say, see you next week. I can't wait. You're my favourite, consultation. Or I've got a little present for you. And it's addressed to, Sparky Johnson. This kills owners. You use the dog's first name and the owner's last name. And it's a little chew toy and some treats. And it's just a little present. But not on a fix, not every time. Not a birthday card, not a Christmas card. These things are not motivating. It's out of the blue in February when everyone's now depressed because the holidays are over and where's the sunshine, and you send the dog a little card saying, how's the training going? Let me know if you need any brush ups. I'm missing you. Like you to come to another class, and it makes the owners feel so good.
I'm thinking also about a lot of people that I work with talk about motivating referrals too, to refer, like vets, groomers, pet store owners. And what I recommend is really giving them gifts during the non-holiday times. Because everybody's giving their vet cookies and candy, and bring something in on a February day or an April day that has nothing to do with the holiday.
Yeah, and I think when you think where referrals come from, and they come from vets, they come from pet stores, they come from breeders, all of these people have something in common. They're all pet owners and probably dog owners. And with dogs it's so easy. You've only got to find out what breed they have. And that's the little thank you card that you send. You don't send a Labrador card to someone who has a German Wirehair. So, you send a German Wirehair card and you just say, how's Fritz? How's he doing? Thanks, by the way, for sending the referrals. Really appreciate it. And that's it, the personal connection again, which shows you care. And it's amazing. It's the little things that really matter and go so far, because money is not the motivator, and it's not the motivator if you're paying someone to work for you, and it's not the motivator when you earn it. You earn a lot of money, you think that's cool, but then next month you get depressed if you earn less. You see, it's a very dangerous sort of thing that you're in there. So the little things, and that is really, it's what life's about, because now I find in the dog world so many people get so wrapped up in their dog and the dog world, and there's nothing else there. And it's very dangerous. You are setting yourself up for like real hurt if anything goes wrong, you know. And I think you've got to have other hobbies as well. You've got to have a life to be a really good dog trainer, because you've got to be able to relate to people on that level.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I work with who love animals and they're working in the pet business world, not a lot of them, some of them don't really like people. They love animals, that's why they got into it. They don't really like people so much.
It's a very delicate way of putting it. So many people come to me and they say, well, you know, I don't really get on that well with people. It's why I became a dog trainer. And I thought, wow, you're in the wrong field. I mean, if ever you need people skills, it's when you work with animals. If you're a vet, a groomer, a dog walker, daycare, or dog trainer, because this is a very delicate thing you're dealing with. It's very emotional, their dog, and you better know the people skills. And you know, I look at all my friends I was at college with, and we were a pretty fun bunch, and they were all amazingly successful as veterinarians. Why? They were just fun people, and their clients loved going to the vet to see them, even though they were upset that they were going to the vet because their pet is sick. And you know, you've got to relate to the people. It's an irony that so many people who are so positive, 1,000,000% positive with dogs, are actually so nasty with people, and saying things like, then you shouldn't have got a dog in the first place. Or, oh my God, take that collar off. What are you doing? You don't have a choke collar in my class. And my view is, this person's come to me with their dog. If I insult them in any way, if I belittle them, I'm distancing them from me, so now I can't help their dog. And so actually what I visualize is, this is a very weird thing, if someone's doing something to a dog that I don't like, or if they're training a way that I find reprehensible, I imagine a little syringe floating over their head, a little syringe of euthanol. And I think the dog's got a lucky break now, because he's here with me and I can help him if only I can get the owner to listen to me. And that's what gives me great patience. And I've come up with some nice styles, like I won't say, that's wrong. I'll say, you know, that used to be a very popular way of training dogs 50 years ago, but we just do it much quicker now. Let me show you. Come here,
nice.
Sit down, sit, stand down. Sit. So I won't take the bait. I won't make an issue out of it, because if I distance the person from me, I know they're going to another dog trainer. And if you think about it, in any profession, whether you go to a dog trainer, doggy daycare, or say we go to a lawyer or a doctor, half the people you're going to see are below average in that profession. And I like to think if someone's come to me because of their dog, they really got lucky. And so if I frighten them away because I'm a bit of an arsehole, then they're going to have to play the lotto of trainer again, and they could quite as easily get someone who's using methods which aren't quite so great. And so that's what I tell people, don't take the bait. I know you're upset, you know, bite your tongue, and imagine this syringe of euthanol.
What is euthanol?
That's what you use to euthanize animals. It's basically a heavy-duty barbiturate. And when I see dog trainers who I disagree with, what I imagine is an enormous syringe of euthanol, because our dialogue will influence the lives of so many dogs now.
True.
I mean, how many clients do they have a year?
Yeah.
So it's about seducing people to see it your way and not get into an argument. It's like, but so many people, they just love to have arguments. They love to point out when you're doing something wrong. And you know, when I lecture around the world, it's kind of interesting. In some places, they are really accusatory and saying, "Well, this isn't right. You know, you're stressing the dog or something." Yeah. And they can't really see a problem with logic. And I say, "Well, yeah, the dog's a bit stressed here because he's dog reactive. But what we have to compare that with is if we do nothing, and the dog remains dog reactive for the rest of his life, and this dog, 7 years old, he's been dog reactive for 7 years and you haven't done a damn thing about it. That's what's stressful every day of your life. So I'm going to do something, yeah, it's a little bit stressful, but I'm going to make your dog better." So, you know, we don't want to just tell people this is wrong. It's like, wow, look at the improvement. Or, yeah, we're realistic. Those were ways used to train dogs, but now we do it differently.
And I like how you said quicker.
Oh, quick,
because instead of we do it better, because that makes them feel like they've done something wrong.
I don't use better, and I don't use inhumane. That's the volatile one. When you say, no, that's inhumane, that's cruel. Oh my word, that person's not going to listen to anything you say now, and I don't care if you've been to 100 clicker workshops. They're not going to listen to you because you insulted them, you belittled them, you shamed them in public, and their dog now can't benefit from your experience and expertise.
Yeah, words are so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
They're important. So any other final tips you have for pet business owners?
I think the most important thing when you're dealing in a profession where if you get it right, you do a lot of good, but if you make a boo-boo, you fail and you can actually cause harm, it's very important to be representative about what you do, because I see a lot of people who crucify themselves with a single failure, like especially in the rescue world and the shelter world. And you're going to fail a few times, let's face it. You didn't mean to do it, but there's a lot going on. Dogs have baggage and they have owners we have to convince. So you've got to look at your successes. And at the end of the day, you've got to say, well, I had trouble with one dog in class. Don't focus on that one. And that's what we do. You gave it your best shot. Now focus on the 11 puppies that you really helped to have a better life. And actually, it's my principal at vet college, taught me this. And at our graduation, he says, the vet profession is a great profession. It's going to be very fulfilling. You're going to love it. You're driving around the countryside, seeing animals. It really is the James Herriot, thingy. But there's three things more important. Number one, your colleagues, your employees. You work with them for so much of your life. Well over a third of your life, you're with these people. Treat them as individuals. Value them. He says, more important than your colleagues, though, is your family. He says that's what life's about, family and friends. So, don't neglect those because of your work. And then what he said next absolutely stunned me. He said, but more important than the veterinary profession, your veterinary colleagues, than your family is you. I thought, wow. He said, if you don't look after yourself, if you don't see what you do representatively, the good that you do, if you keep focusing on your mistakes and the screw-ups that you've made, you're going to be useless as a veterinarian, horrible as a colleague, and pretty pathetic as a family member. So I think that's it. Let's take the principles we use for training and motivating puppies, apply them to people, but especially apply them to ourselves, and to look at the good time we're having in life and have a good time doing it.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Did we do it?
Yep.
Oh,
got
awesome.
2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Oh, good, because you went like this, and I was
Oh,
like,
sorry. That was 2.
Oh, I didn't see that.
We
I
did
saw
3,
this.
then
So, Ian, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is through Dogstar Daily. That if they go there, dogstardaily.com. It's a huge free website with hours of me talking so long that people get sick of me and then won't want to get hold of me. But essentially, all the questions will be answered there, whether they're raising a puppy or they rescued a dog. So dogstardaily.com. And there's loads of stuff to download for free books before you get your puppy, after you get your puppy. No need to buy them anymore. Just download them for free.
Great. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
I will, and
Okay,
you.
Thanks.